You're sitting across from him at the table. He's talking. You're nodding. And somewhere in the middle of his third sentence, you already know exactly how this ends. You've been here before. Not this room, not this man, not these exact words, but this feeling, this specific, suffocating feeling of having something important to say and choosing, again, to say nothing. You drive home. You replay it. And somewhere around the second or third time, you hear your own voice in your head making that excuse you didn't even believe. You feel it settle in your chest like a stone. That familiar weight of a man who knows he's capable of more, but keeps showing up as less. And the worst part isn't the moment itself. The worst part is that you've had this exact feeling before. Different table, different person, same stone in your chest, same drive home, same replay. That's not bad luck. That's not the wrong circumstances. That's a pattern. And today, we're going to go into exactly where it comes from, what it's silently costing you every single day, and how you permanently end it. Not manage it, end it. Stay with me for this one. If this channel is new to you, hit subscribe right now, because everything we build here is designed for men who are tired of almost being who they know they could be. Let's go. Here is the first thing nobody wants to tell you because it's uncomfortable. And it doesn't sell well, and it doesn't fit on a motivational poster. Most of what you call your personality is not actually yours. It's inherited. It's borrowed. It's a survival strategy you built when you were young enough that you didn't have any other option. And it worked well enough that you never replaced it. And now it's running your adult life like old software on a new machine. Technically functional, constantly lagging. Never quite right. Think about the men you grew up watching, not the men in movies. Not the fantasy version of strength you admired from a distance. The actual men. Your father, your uncle, your older brother. The men in your house, your block, your school. How did they handle pressure? What did they do when money got tight? What happened in their face when they felt disrespected? What did they do with fear? Did they talk about it? Did they bury it? Did they turn it into anger and aim it at whoever was closest? You watched all of it, every moment. You were too young to analyze it, but you were not too young to absorb it. You were building a map of how men move through the world, how they handle conflict, how they earn respect, how they survive. In that map, built from real observations of real men who were themselves just running their own inherited maps, became the operating system underneath everything you do. It runs automatically. It runs without your permission. It runs in job interviews and arguments and moments of silence with someone you love and conversations where your position matters and you still can't quite hold it. The pattern doesn't care how smart you are. It doesn't care that you've read the books or watched the videos or told yourself 100 times that this time would be different. It runs anyway. Quietly, the way your lungs breathe without you telling them to. And here is what that creates in practice. The man who doesn't understand this mechanism lives his entire life reacting and calling it decision-making. He changes the job, but recreates the same dynamic with whoever is above him. He leaves one relationship and builds the same architecture in the next one. He moves cities and unpacks the same version of himself in a new apartment. The scenery changes, the script doesn't, and he spends years genuinely confused about why his life keeps rhyming, when he is trying so hard to write something new. That confusion is expensive, not just emotionally, practically expensive. And opportunities you didn't take because the pattern said it wasn't safe. In conversations where you had the right answer and swallowed it. In rooms where you belonged and spent the whole time performing just to stay. Now, here is where most content about this topic stops. Here is where you get the framework, the 5 habits, the morning routine, the cold shower, the journaling practice. And I'm not saying those things have no value. I'm saying they are downstream of the actual problem. If the root isn't touched, the routine is decoration. You are rearranging furniture inside a burning house and calling it renovation. The real question, the one that actually unlocks this, is not what should I do differently. It is what am I trying to avoid feeling. Every pattern a man repeats without understanding has an emotion underneath it that he is working, without knowing it, to never feel again. The man who over-explains every decision before anyone questions it is avoiding the feeling of being dismissed before he can defend himself. The man who goes quiet and cold the moment a relationship gets serious is avoiding the feeling of being consumed, of disappearing inside someone else. The man who turns every conversation into a competition is avoiding the feeling of being seen as stupid or small. The pattern is not random. The pattern is precise. It is a solution to a specific emotional problem that a younger version of you encountered and didn't have the tools to handle any other way. And it worked. That's the part that makes it so hard to release. It worked. It kept you safe. It got you through. The problem is not that the solution was wrong for then. The problem is that you never graduated from it. The solution became the ceiling. Comment below right now and tell me one pattern you already know you keep repeating. Don't explain it, don't justify it. Just name it, because naming it clearly, without the story wrapped around it, is the first real act of clarity, and clarity is where everything starts. Now let's talk about what this pattern costs you at the level that actually matters day to day. Not in some abstract future version of your life. Right now, in the daily mechanics of how you move through rooms and relationships and opportunities. The cost is control. And I don't mean control over other people. I mean control over yourself, which is the only kind that matters and the only kind that produces any of the other kinds. Here's what nobody explains clearly enough about emotional reactivity. Every single time you react from feeling before you've thought from strategy, you give someone else the remote control to your behavior. You don't loan it, you hand it over completely. And some people will use it without even realizing they're using it. The moment someone ignores you and you go cold, and they can see it in your face, they have just learned a weapon. They now know that your attention and your warmth can be taken away from you with silence. They didn't earn that knowledge. You gave it away for free in one unguarded moment. The moment you raise your voice in a meeting to prove your point and the room shifts in the wrong direction, you have shown everyone in that room exactly where your edges are. They didn't have to look for them. You lit them up yourself. The moment you start chasing someone's approval and they can feel the chase and the energy you bring, you have communicated something without a single word. You have said, I can be managed with warmth and I can be punished with distance. And the people who operate through manipulation, consciously or not, will file that information and use it the next time they need to move you somewhere. You are teaching people how to play you, and the lesson is always conducted in the moments you think are too small to matter. This is why a man without emotional self-awareness is always being managed by his environment, even when he believes he is managing it. He thinks he is responding to people. What he is actually doing is responding to the version of himself that other people have learned to trigger. There is a difference between those two things. The difference is sovereignty. And this is also why the standard advice of just get more disciplined is missing the point so completely. Discipline without self-awareness is just a man who explodes on a delay. He white-knuckles it through the moment, holds it all together, and then it comes out sideways somewhere else, usually somewhere lower stakes, usually at someone who didn't deserve it, usually in a way that creates damage that costs more to repair than it would have cost to simply understand what was happening in the first place. What you actually need is not more willpower applied to the surface. What you need is to become genuinely uninterested in the reactions that used to run you. Not suppressed, not managed with a technique. Genuinely uninterested. The way a man who hasn't smoked in 10 years isn't managing a craving. He's just not interested. The craving doesn't arrive anymore. Not because he's fighting it, because he resolved the thing underneath it. That resolution happens when you understand why the pattern exists, not just what to do when it shows up. Now, I want to give you something practical, something you can use tonight, and I'm going to be honest with you that this is an answer, just not the complete one. We'll get to the complete one in a moment. The practical tool is the pause. Not a breathing exercise, not counting to 10, not a stress management technique you read about. The actual pause. The moment where you catch yourself on the edge of reacting from pattern and you make the choice to do absolutely nothing. Instead, you don't speak, you don't move, you don't explain or defend or justify. You sit with the discomfort of the moment and you observe it instead of feeding it. Silence used this way is not passivity. Silence is the moment a man steps entirely outside of someone else's script, Because most provocations, most moments that trigger the pattern, they are designed, consciously or not, to produce a specific reaction from you. The person in front of you is operating on an expectation of how you respond. They have learned your timing. They know your tells. And when you violate that expectation by simply not responding, something shifts in the room. The power dynamic doesn't just change, it reverses, without a word, without drama, without you having to prove anything. A man who cannot be triggered into reaction cannot be controlled through provocation. And that makes him genuinely dangerous to every person whose influence over him depended on his predictability. 3 lines I want you to carry out of this video. Nobody respects a man who needs to be understood. They respect a man who doesn't need to be. Silence is not the absence of something. It is the loudest possible signal that you are operating on a frequency most people cannot reach. Your reaction is the weapon they are borrowing from you every single time. Stop lending it. Now, here is the part I promised you. The part past the practical tool. Because I could end this video right here and it would feel complete. You'd have the framework, the insight, the tool. You'd try to pause this week, you'd feel more in control. And then 3 weeks from now, you'd be right back in the same dynamic with the same person, and it would feel harder than before, because now you know what you're supposed to do and you still couldn't do it. Not because the tool doesn't work, because the tool is downstream of something we haven't touched yet. If you're still here, subscribe, because what I'm about to say is the part most channels never get to, and it is the only part that actually makes permanent change possible. The pause works in the moment, but the moment is not where the real problem lives. The real problem lives in the private decision you have or haven't made about your own worth. Here's what nobody says clearly about presence. Real presence. The kind that changes the temperature of a room when you walk in. The kind that makes people listen before you've said a word. The kind you felt from certain men and couldn't explain why. It has nothing to do with technique. It is not a posture. It is not a vocal tone. It is not a skill you can practice in a mirror. It is the natural byproduct of a man who made a private decision about his own worth and stopped reopening that decision every time someone challenged it. Most men are renegotiating their worth constantly. Every conversation where they feel overlooked is a renegotiation. Every time someone dismisses their opinion and they push back twice as hard to compensate, that's a renegotiation. Every time they do something purely to prove a point to someone who was never going to care, renegotiation. Every time they perform a version of themselves in a room instead of just being in the room, renegotiation. A man who is always renegotiating his worth is a man whose worth is permanently in dispute, and people will show up to that dispute. They will sit across from him and make the case, consciously or not, that he is less than he believes. And sometimes they will win. Not because they were right, because he called the meeting. The decision I am talking about is not positive thinking. It is not an affirmation. It is something harder and quieter than both of those things. It is a man sitting alone with the actual evidence of his life. Not the highlight reel. The actual record. The things he survived that he didn't think he would. The times he showed up when it would have been easier not to. The moments where he chose integrity when dishonesty was available and comfortable. Looking at that record, without needing anyone else to grade it, and deciding, this is a man worth building. Not a man worth validating. Not a man worth loving. A man worth the continued investment of his own best energy. And when that decision is made and held without renegotiation, something changes in how you occupy space. People feel it before they can name it. They feel the absence of need in you. They feel that you are not performing, not angling, not waiting to be chosen. You're just there, fully there. And that kind of presence creates gravity. It pulls attention without demanding it. It earns respect without requesting it. This is what it actually means to arrive in a room rather than just walk into one. It is not how you enter. It is the internal state you carry across the threshold. Now let me bring it back to where we started. You at that table, across from him. Folding that moment was not about not knowing the right words. You knew the words. That moment was about not yet having made the private decision that your perspective was worth the discomfort it would cost the room. That moment was a renegotiation you agreed to before he even opened his mouth. You walked in having already decided to lose. The work is not to get better at those specific conversations. The work is to become the kind of man who doesn't enter them having already surrendered. And that becomes possible only when all three things are operating together. You understand the pattern and where it came from. You've removed the emotional levers that let other people control your reactions. And you've made and kept the private decision about your own worth that stops you from putting yourself up for debate in the first place. That is the real architecture. Not a checklist, not a morning routine. An inside job that produces outside results, quietly, permanently, without you having to announce it or perform it or explain it to anyone. Because power never announces itself. It arrives, and the room feels it before it can say why. The man you were at the beginning of this video and the man finishing it right now are not exactly the same man. Something shifted, maybe small, maybe just a crack of light under a door you didn't know was there. Honor that. Don't talk about it. Don't post about it. Just go be different tonight than you were this morning. One conversation, one pause, one moment where you don't renegotiate. That is how it starts. Not with a declaration anyone else can see, with a private decision nobody else needs to witness. You cannot break what was built from the inside out. If this video gave you something real today, share it with one man in your life who you think is stuck in a pattern he can't name yet. Don't explain it to him. Just send it. Let it find him the way it found you. Like this video, if something in here handed you a tool you're actually going to use. That like tells me to keep going deeper instead of safer. And subscribe if this is the conversation you've been looking for. Because what we're building on this channel goes further than any single video can hold. Next time we're going somewhere most men actively avoid. The specific kind of person who has positioned themselves in your life to feed off your uncertainty. How to identify them before the damage is done. And exactly how a man removes them without drama, without guilt, and without losing a single step. Your kingdom starts with who you decide to be when nobody is watching. Go make that decision.